Hi, today we're going to continue with solving system by using elimination. So far you've learned it by using graphing, and also by substitution. So the third way is by elimination. The objective today is how do we solve systems of equations by elimination with addition and subtraction. So this is going to be broken up into two parts. You're doing addition and subtraction today. And then for the next lesson, it'll be dealing with multiplication. Okay, so let us begin. So when it comes to the elimination method, basically it's adding two equations together where you can eliminate one of the variable, making it possible to solve for the other variable. How do we use elimination? First, you add up the two equations together to eliminate one of the variables. So whether it's the x or the y. Then second step, you solve for the other variable. And then the third step, you will substitute that solution into one of the equations. There's two of them, so you choose one or the other to solve for the other variable. So this may be, with all the words, it may sound confusing, but when we apply it by actually solving for the two variables, then you'll understand where the steps are coming from. All right, so we're going to do our first example. We have two equations, and then we have two variables that we need to solve for, x and y. So I'm going to rewrite the question, the equation. So let me just get the pen. I'll use that. All right, so I'm going to do this. This will be equation number 1. This is equation number 2. And like I said, I'm going to rewrite them. So I have 3x minus 5y equals negative 16. And the second one is 2x plus 5y equals 31. All right, so in order to eliminate one of the variables, we have to find one where it has the same terms, but they're opposite. So in that case, oops, I'm going to do yellow so that we can show you. I'm going to eliminate the negative 5y and the positive 5y. Because if you were to add those two, then it becomes 0. So that's the way that I will eliminate that, so that way I can solve for the x's. So this will give me 0, and when I add those two, this will give me 5x. They're like terms, so you can do that. And then for the other one, where you have negative 16 plus 31, that will give you a positive 15. And I'll just put 15. Then you divide by 5, and then you get x equals 3. So that's one of the variables you solved. Now you're going to solve for the other variable, which is y. And you could choose either the first or the second equation. I'm going to choose the second equation. So put 2x plus 5y equals 31. And what I'm going to do, wherever there's an x, I'm going to replace it or substitute that with a 3. So then I'll have 2 times, and I'll put that in purple so that way you know that this has been substituted. The x has been substituted for 3. And then I continue to solve for y. So I simplify. This would be 6 plus 5y equals 31. And then I'm going to subtract 6 on both sides. And then I'm left with 5y by itself. And then this will be 25. And then I divide 5 on both sides. And then I'll get y equals 5. Alright, so now I've got x and I've got y. And my last final step to write the answer will be in coordinate form. So it'd be parentheses 3, comma 5. Because remember, when you have a coordinate point, it is x, comma y. So that means this point will be on this line, the first equation, and then it'll be also on the second equation. So this is what both of these two lines share in common. You remember when we did graphing, how we graphed the line on the graph, and where they intersect would be the solution. This is the solution, but without doing it with graphing, we did it by solving by elimination. So again, in order to do that, you have to make sure that either the x or the y, whichever you choose, it has to have opposite signs. So 5y, negative 5y, and positive 5y, we were able to eliminate it. So that way we can solve for x. And then once we found x, we plug in x into one of the equations to find y. And then we get our final answer in coordinate form. All right, let's do another one. So this one, we have x minus y equals 14 and x plus y equals 20. I'm going to rewrite this one, and I'm going to label the equation. So this would be equation number 1, equation number 2, and then I'll just rewrite it so that way I can work with it. And then as you can see, I'm going to eliminate the y's because the y has, one of them has a negative, the other one has a positive. I can eliminate that because it'll give me a 0 when you add those two. So this will be eliminated, and then I will continue to add up the like terms and then simplify. So this will give me a 34, divide 2 on both sides, and then I'll get a 17 for that one. So I found one of them. Now I need to find y. And I'm going to use another color for that. I'm going to go with the first equation. And then I'm going to plug in wherever I have an x with 17. So I'll put that in purple to show that this has been substituted based on what I found. And then I'll solve for y. So then I'm going to subtract 17 on both sides. And then continue to solve for y. This will cancel out. This will be negative y. And this will be negative 3. Ah, we have that invisible 1, so we need to divide negative 1 on both sides. And then we get y equals 3. And then I write my final answer in coordinate form, which would be 17, comma 3, x, comma y. Right. And in order to make sure that, oh, okay, did I solve it right? Did I have the correct x and y? So seeing how I use the first equation to find my y, take both of your x and y, plug it into the second equation, and see if you'll get the correct answer. 17 is x, y is 3. 17 plus 3 gives you 20. So then that means those two variables that I solved for are correct. So that means that you solved it correctly and you got the right answer. All right, let's go on for the next one. Now, this example is different from the first two examples that we did, seeing how we have the same term, 2t, but they're both positive. That means you're going to have to make one of the equations, or one of them, negative. So I'm going to rewrite it again. Label this one 1, this one is 2, and I'm going to rewrite it. So it's 5s plus 2t equals 6, and the other one is 9s plus 2t equals 22. All right, so for this one, I want to make one of the 2t negative. So I'm going to go with the first one. So if I'm going to make that negative, I have to make the whole equation negative. I'm going to make it negative. So basically what you're multiplying it by negative or negative 1. Same thing. So that means I'm going to be changing the first equation based on me multiplying by 1. So this would be negative 5s, negative 2t, and this would be negative 6. So basically you are distributing that negative 1 to each term inside the parentheses. And I'm going to draw the arrow, like that rainbow formation, to show that I'm distributed. And the second equation, I just rewrite it again because I didn't do anything to it. So it would be 9s plus 2t equals 22. Now I can eliminate the t's because 2t, one of them is negative and the other one is positive. So now I can eliminate that to solve for s. So I'm going to add up those two equations. So then that will give me 4s and equals, and then when I do negative 6 plus 22 will give me positive 16, and then divide 4 on both sides, and then I get s equals 4. All right, so I solved one of the variables. Now I'm going to change that into blue, and I'm going to go with the second equation to find t. So then it will be 9s plus 2t equals 22. Plug in s, so 9 times 4, and I'll put that in purple so that way you know that substitution happened in here in order to find t. So it'll be 2t equals 22. This will be 36 plus 2t equals 22. And I'm going to subtract 36 on both sides. I'll be left with 2t equals, so 22 and 36 will be negative 14. And then divide 2 on both sides, and then I have t equals negative 7. Alright, so I found s, I found t, and my final step is to write it in its coordinate form. And yes, we're used to seeing x and y, so then you will ask yourself, which one goes first? Will I put s or t? Again, always go back to the alphabet. Who comes first in the alphabet, s or t? S comes first, so we put s first, and then t as the second number. And there you have your answer. The solution that will satisfy both of these equations. Okay, so remember, if you have a term, a variable that you want to eliminate, make sure one of them is positive, and they both, well, make sure one, they're the same, and the second, make sure that one is positive and the other one is negative. So that way you can eliminate it to solve for the other variable. All right. Okay, the next one. So you have a choice to figure out which one to eliminate. Since this one is 4m and negative 4m, okay, we just need to make one of them positive because they're both negative. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to label them and rewrite it. This is 1, this is 2. So this would be negative 4m plus 2n equals 6, and the other one is negative 4m plus n equals 8. So I'm going to multiply the whole equation by 1. I'll do the first one by negative 1 because I want to make one of them positive. And I'm going to put the little arrow. So this one will be distributed, and again, let me put that in green so that way to show you that this has to be distributed. Everything inside the parentheses that you created, distribution has to happen. So we got positive 4m, negative 2n, and negative 6. And since we didn't touch the second equation, just write it, copy it the same way. Now you can eliminate, and we're going to be eliminating the 4m and the negative 4m. And then we're going to add the other two terms. So this will be 3n, and then since negative 6 plus 8, that'll give us 2. Divide 3 on both sides, and then you're going to get 2 over 3. So you could put it as a decimal, but I'm going to leave it as a fraction because I'm going to have to substitute that into one of the equations, and I would rather deal with fractions because there's a chance that I might eliminate it or not. Who knows? Let's see what happens. Oh, before I even do anything, I just caught that I made a mistake. Let me change that first. You may have noticed that this is negative 2n and this is positive n. So this should have been a negative n. So again, math mistakes can happen. So let's do this again. So this is going to be a negative 1n. And then we divide negative 1 on both sides, and this will be a negative 2. So the answer for n is negative 2. I just corrected my mistake. I noticed what happens. Hey, it happens to the best of us when it comes to signs. So that's why you always backtrack to make sure that you did the right thing. All right, so I'm going to choose the second equation. I'm going to rewrite it exactly as it is. And then I'm going to substitute n with negative 2. And then I'm going to solve for m. Oops, let me go back to the blue color. All right. So let me undo. I'm going to add 2 on both sides. And then that will give me 4m, negative 4m on this side, equal 10. I'm going to divide negative 4 on both sides. And you could leave it like that, but if you do 10 divided by 4, you should get a decimal, a nicer decimal, negative 2.5. And now the final solution, you write it in coordinate form. Again, which one comes first? Look at the alphabet. M comes before n, so we're going to have negative 2.5, comma, negative 2. And there you go. That is solving systems by elimination. So we're going to go back to review since we're at the end of this lesson. Oops, too far back. So again, elimination method. There was 3 ways that you learned how to solve systems. The first one was graphing, where you graph the lines and see what type of solution happens between those 2 lines. Then the second one was by substitution, by taking one of the equations, setting it equal to x or set it equal to y, and plugging it into the other equation to solve for the variables. This is the third one where it's solved by elimination, where basically you find a term that is the same, like in this example, negative 5y and 5y, but one of them has to be negative and the other one positive in order to eliminate that variable to solve for the other one. Once you solve for the other one, you plug it into one of the equations to find the second variable. And once you got both, you put it in coordinate form, and then you have your solution for those 2 equations. So you've learned 3 different types of ways to solve a system, and if there is a graph, you could choose one of the 3 to do it, but usually if there's a graph, you just plot your points and look at how the line is. But if there was a choice where you have to solve for a system, you have 3 choices. But if they ask you to solve it a certain way, like if they ask you by elimination or substitution, then you follow that path. But you've learned 3 different ways to find a solution for 2 lines. All right, so this might be a little confusing, but again, if you have any questions, feel free to email me, ask me in class, so that way I can provide you more examples, more practice, so that way this sticks for you. All right, on that note, this concludes our lesson, and I'll see you around.